I just quit pursuing programming at a professional level and just left it as a hobby from today. And I feel better than ever. No more pressure. Sometimes you just gotta tap out, and that's okay. All right, so let's talk about it. All right, so we have a little bit of a change of venue over here. This is gonna be a new type of series I'm testing out. Not sure if this is gonna be a new norm. Probably not. I'm gonna always do my tutorials, always do my, more formal type of videos, but wanted to try to mix it up a little bit. So here we go. Just finished dropping my kid off to school and dropping the missus off to work. And now I'm back to my office, which is really home because I work from home. All right, so we have about 15-20 minutes before I finally get to my destination. So I want to just talk about this topic of deciding to go for a change in terms of your career, or tapping out or quitting in terms of programming, and why it might make sense. We know that over the past year and change, we've seen a significant amount of people lose their jobs in the programming world. We know that, the industry has changed and shifted so much, and people are getting concerned. Let's see if I can turn this around a little bit. People are getting concerned. They're like, is the industry changing so much that I'm gonna have to do this anyway? Am I gonna have to leave my job? Am I gonna do something, have to find something different to do? And that's a legitimate concern. My belief is programmers are gonna be needed for a very long time. Industry is changing, but that's been the case for decades now. We've had different types of platforms and different types of new software and tools that make it easier to create, different types of projects. What you see is what you get. WYSIWYG. We've seen templating systems in Dreamweaver and Adobe Dreamweaver for a long time. We have different platforms that have drag and drop. We have software that's easier to, put together nowadays with the tools that we have, with the different IDEs that really do a lot of code completions. And let's face it, artificial intelligence is really bridging the gap between those who know how to code and program and those who don't. I mean, previously, you would need to study for years in order to really get an understanding of how to code. And nowadays, you really don't need to do it that long. You don't need to study for years and years and years and become a master of programming to be considered a programmer. I'm gonna take a little coffee break. That's good. You would typically need to work for so long for, to get the skills you need to be a good programmer. Nowadays, really in about a year, you can learn just about everything you need in terms of the fundamentals to kind of know what you're doing. And that can be a dangerous thing because it can, increase the likelihood of security issues in your code. But there's a lot of different ways you can mitigate that. One is just trial and error, research, testing in your, development environment before you push it up to your production environment, using linters in order to go through your code to see if you're following best practices for that programming language, and then using AI just to identify if there's any security holes. Literally just prompt it, is there a security hole here? And then you'll have a good understanding of whether or not there are issues with your code. Is it perfect? No. Are you gonna need a human? Yes. And that's why I still say that programming for the foreseeable future is going to continuously require people, human beings, not just bots or AI. But, there does come a time when you have to question, is leaving the field the right thing for you to do? And that's something that's very personal. It's a personal decision. You have to really think deeply. What are your goals? Are you just starting off and learning how to program, don't really understand it too much, and you're not having fun anymore? Then maybe, if there's anything else that you want to do, if there's any other types of jobs that, motivate you a little bit more, then definitely you should probably just go do that job. And, like this gentleman or this person, who commented on my previous video, he said he's just not pursuing his career in programming and just going to keep doing it as a hobby. And that's a great thing, because I think that programming in of itself, it's fun. I mean, it's problem solving. You can make a game out of it. Are you able to, solve these complex problems and create something that maybe only you're going to be the user of? That can be beneficial in many ways. One, it's helpful for you. It helps to develop your brain, and it develops new neural pathways. It's challenging, so it keeps your brain young. So that's a good thing. So yeah, so if you're in the beginning of your endeavor of learning how to program and becoming a programmer, and you find that you're not really going to be able to make a living out of it because it's not something that motivates you, or maybe the field that you were interested in is completely no longer required or needed, then yeah, maybe you shouldn't continue programming in terms of professionally, and just do it as a hobby. Now, if you're later in your career, if you've been doing programming work for a significant amount of time, and you're close to retirement age, that's also another point. A good time to call it quits and hang up your hat. If you've done this for 20, 30 years and you don't feel like there's any more growth for you, or if you're just burnt out or tired, that happens. And it's okay to say, you know what, I'm done. I'm going to pass on the baton to somebody else to take on these challenges. And maybe you could take on the role of being a mentor. You can find a different type of position within that field, and that could be beneficial. Now, the thing is, if you've entered the field of programming, you're gainfully employed, you're not close to retirement, and there's nothing else that really interests you, at that point, should you quit programming? And my answer to that is no. I mean, it's the field is challenging. It's always going to be challenging, but I don't know of any worthwhile job out there that isn't challenging. And you got to think about it. Being challenged is a good thing. It helps you grow. It helps you to learn new things. It doesn't become monotonous, because if everything is easy, if you don't really have to work hard for anything, yeah, that could be comfortable for a while, but then it gets boring. And for me personally, I don't want to be bored. I want to feel challenged. I want to try new things. That's why I always play around with different programming languages. I play around with different tools. Sometimes I'll be using PHP. Sometimes I'll be using PHP Storm as my IDE, because that is the most robust IDE for PHP type applications. And then sometimes I'll just start using Vim, or I'll just start using Nano on the terminal, and just handle my code that way. And it's because I like to break up the monotony, or just the pattern that develops itself of day in, day out, doing the exact same thing with the exact same code, with the exact same editors. You want to break things up. So yeah, so if you're in the middle of your career, then I don't think it's really ideal to change careers if there's nothing else out there that really motivates you. I mean, it's just my 2 cents. So there is a time to say, that's it, I'm done, no más, no more. And there's a time to say, how can I adapt? And what do I need to do to adapt? And you got to think about that as I take another sip of my coffee here. So yeah, so to the person that decided, they saw my video that I put up a few days ago, about getting ready for 2024. These are the things you need to really focus on, and what you should be doing, and things of that nature. And they said, you know what, that's it, I'm done, it's all good, I'm going to continue programming as a hobby, but professionally, no more. That's fine. And I take my hat off to them, because it takes a lot of courage, to change fields. People think that, when you quit something, that you're quitting. And sometimes quitting is quitting, but sometimes quitting is not quitting. Now, what does that mean, right? Well, sometimes it's just pivoting. You're pivoting to a new idea or to a new challenge or to a new chapter in your life. I don't see that as quitting. I see that as just being smart and identifying your situation and what you need to do personally. Not doing something out of fear, but doing something out of just being practical about it and being pragmatic. And I think that's important, having the discernment to decide, what do I need to do now? And you got a couple of ways to think about things. You can focus on what is important to do right now for the now and never think about the future, and that's not a good thing. You're always living your days like that, because that means you're always living hand to mouth, as they say. You're not really planning for the future. Or you could always be planning for the future and get nothing done today, and that's not good either. The reality is, you got to find that balance of, how can I plan for today, or how can I plan for the future while getting things done that need to get done today. And that's the key. We all have bills we got to pay. We all have lives we have to live. We all have our responsibilities. We all have our desires, our wants, and our needs. And sometimes our wants end up taking priorities over our needs, which really shouldn't be the case. But that happens. It's like, I'm gonna forego the best quality food so I can buy this new tech gadget, because I want that tech gadget. And the quality food, it's all right. My waistline can handle, eating fast food for a few days instead of having good, wholesome food. Yeah, that's not really the case. But anyway, thing is, you always have to prioritize. You have to be pragmatic, and you have to determine what is important for you. So if you're in a situation right now where you're just learning how to code and you're trying to figure out, is this for me long term? Is there going to be a job long term in terms of being a programmer? 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15, 20 years from now. It's a good thing to think about that. I think there will be for the next 10 years at least. Beyond that, who knows if there'll be any jobs out there, to be honest with you. I mean, there's the possibility that the world changes because of artificial intelligence, especially as we get closer to utilizing quantum computers or perfecting quantum computers. I mean, right now, classical computers have their limitations, and those limitations are really what make me believe that programmers are still going to be needed, especially when you talk about the power consumption that it takes to process and to power some of these large language models. We don't have the energy production in order to replace all programmers out there. So that's why I believe that for now there is hope, or there's opportunity. But in the future, say they get nuclear fusion figured out. Right now they had a little breakthrough, but it's still not ready for prime time. Let's say they get nuclear fusion figured out, where it's safe and it's abundant and it's powering the world, and energy is cheap. If that happens, and if we have quantum computers that are powerful enough, combine that with artificial intelligence, now we have the trifecta. This is the trifecta that I feel will be a determining factor in terms of how big of a role artificial intelligence will play in terms of replacing people in general. Forget about just programming. I mean, just taking over all jobs. The trifecta of what's needed is nuclear fusion for energy production, quantum computers for the speed of processing, and obviously artificial intelligence. So once you have all three of those things, the trifecta, then I think jobs will be completely gone. And then we as humanity, as Sam Altman said in front of Congress, will have to find something different to do with our lives. Until then, we got jobs. We're okay. So if you're just starting off and you're thinking about 5 years, 10 years down the line, I think you'll be fine. If you're at the end of your career and want to retire, travel the world. Enjoy the fruits of your labor. Go out there and see, things that you haven't seen before. I think experiences in life matter. If you're in the middle of your career and there's nothing else that really interests you, then no, don't quit. But again, it all comes down to that personal decision, that choice that only you can really make. So hopefully this is helpful, because I know a lot of people are questioning, and if you watch different videos, you read different articles, everybody has a different opinion on this topic. Some people say that already it's too late to get into this career. I got to find something different to do. Other people are saying, nah, you'll be fine. Like me, I say you'll be fine. And I say you'll be fine only if you adapt. I don't think that you can stay stagnant or not develop new skills. My biggest advice is learn how to utilize AI and learn the skills of prompt engineering, so that way you can improve your productivity. Because the gap is being bridged in terms of those who know how to code and those who don't. But the reality is, a skilled programmer is going to be much more effective at putting together a full project, even with AI, than someone who's never known how to code, because you don't know what you don't know, right? I mean, and that's the biggest thing. Yeah, these large language models, you can give it a prompt and it can do somewhat what you need it to do. But at the end of the day, you have to know what to prompt it. And very basic low-hanging fruit, yeah, that's easy. Like, create a function to do this, or to, create a simple layout that has the header, the footer, and the main body and the sidebar. Give me the HTML structure for that. Yeah, that's the low-hanging fruit. But then you got to piece it together. You got to be like a project manager with the artificial intelligence, and really just have it, step by step, develop a full completed project for you. Now that takes a little bit more knowledge, a little bit more know-how. So I think that, programmers still play a vital role in the process, and it's still a good field to be in. All right, so that being said, what do you think about these types of videos? What I'm thinking about doing is taking a look at the comments and answering your questions while doing this, while dropping the kids off at school, going out on errands, things of that nature. That way I have an opportunity to really answer some of your questions in a format that might provide value to more than just a couple of people. Let me know if you like the way this comes out in terms of creating these types of videos. I'm still playing around with it. I have my little mobile studio set up over here, and I want to see how it looks in terms of the video quality itself, and also the audio. But I think this is something that can be good, because at the end of the day, it's about providing value to you. And if I can find a way to answer your questions with the time allotment that I have, that might be a win-win scenario. All right, so hopefully you found this video helpful. Basically, I just wanted to give you my 2 cents in terms of, this person who commented on one of my recent videos, in terms of they're just going to stop programming and just continue it as a hobby instead of looking to pursue it professionally. My take on that, especially since I'm of the mindset that programmers are still relevant. So that's my take. And it's all a personal decision. It's all a choice that you have to make in terms of what makes sense for you and your situation. Because, what makes sense for me may not be what makes sense for you. So that's something that we always have to keep in mind. You have to take everything that I advise, or anything that anybody else advises, and see how it applies to you personally. All right, so hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit that notification icon. And if you have any thoughts, comments, or suggestions, or have any questions that you want me to answer, leave them down below. I want to hear your thoughts in terms of, what motivates you in terms of programming, your programming career, or, what is demotivating you, what is concerning you. And if I have an answer to it, I'll answer it either right there in the comment section, or maybe I'll just do a video about it. And hopefully that'll be something that's beneficial to everybody. All right, so hopefully you enjoyed it. Thumbs up, subscribe, comment down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Oh, by the way, I'm just getting home anyway, so that's why I'm ending now. All right, peace out, everybody. Bye.